Here with Nathan Mathis, candidate for governor for Alabama in 2026. And Mr. Mathis, thanks for joining us. What are your main issues you're running on?
Well, when I was in the legislature, 1982 through 94, I made the deciding vote which allowed Victory Land to come into existence. And we voted for a dog track. We put a 4% parimutuel tax on for the schools. But what I voted for and what's going on now is two different things. Some smart people came up with the idea of putting a little old gadget about the size of a credit card on a slot machine. And it looked like a bingo card. And as people played the slot machine, the numbers jumped around, but it had nothing to do with what was going on, where you won or not. But as a result of that, they was able to get by calling it bingo, said we were playing bingo. Well, now then, the Porch Indians, the Alabama Porch Creek Indians in 2014, they had bought the Pensacola Greyhound track. Okay, they offered the state of Florida $1 billion for 5 years to let them have slot machines at Pensacola Greyhound track. Okay, now I've just discovered that the Attorney General of Alabama has allowed the Porch Indians to put in 1,000 slot machines at Mobile, 1,000 here at Birmingham, and the state's getting nothing in taxes, and it needs to be addressed.
Wow. Well, one of the big issues for Alabamians is we pay some of the highest monthly electric bills in the country. And a recent bill was put forth to change the Public Service Commission to appointment versus elected. What is your stance on the proposed appointment of the PSC, even though that bill has been retracted? But how do you feel about that?
Well, Southern Power Company, which is a parent company of Alabama Power, they reported earnings in 2024 of $4.4 billion. So they're making entirely too much money from what they're charging people for their power bills. Down home, the poor people that I'm around every day, the biggest problem they having is food and electric bills. That's the biggest problem they have. And to answer your question on myself, I don't see where it was going to improve any to have a appointed board versus an elected board. We just need a board that'll get in there and do their job and not take money from Alabama Power and then not do anything.
Let's talk about health care. Dozens of rural hospitals are reportedly in danger of closing. The state's getting $500 million to improve rural health care. How do you think the state should spend that money?
Well, we should number one, try to keep as many of them open as we can. And these poor people, we need to have a good state government, we need to take care of the poor. We read that in the Bible, so take care of the poor.
There's crime has been an issue for a lot of the cities. Crime, violent crime, the numbers across the country are down, but some of the cities still face some issues. In Montgomery, the state kind of went in and helped them with their situation. Do you think the state should be involved in fighting local crime?
Well, right now we got a problem with our courts convict people of serious crimes, and then our president will pardon them. And it affects the morale of trying to do something about the crime. But the state would be more than welcome in most cities to help solve the problem. We shouldn't just go in like ICE is doing and try to take over and run over the local police.
You know, in the Birmingham area, there's a backlash recently over the possible move of an Islamic school from Homewood to Hoover. It ended up not going through, but should the state get involved in similar culture issues in local areas?
Sure, I'm not familiar with that issue, but we're supposed to have freedom of religion here in the United States, and everybody's not going to believe like you and I believe, and we might not even believe alike ourselves. So we should respect one another and try to work things out between ourselves.
And a lot of folks, kind of related, a lot of folks in Alabama feel like Alabama politics are too based on culture wars, instead of just kitchen table issues like affordability, day-to-day economics, quality of life concerns. How do we get away from those culture war issues and focus on real issues that affect everyone?
That's a hard question. I had a daughter that was gay, and I mistreated her myself by beliefs that I had as I grew up, as I was taught in church. And you know, a lot of people just born different than others, and we need to realize that the Bill of Rights says all men are created equal. They are endowed with their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among those are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. We should respect that.
Alabama prisons are some of the worst in the country. People are dying in them. There's overcrowding. They're putting a $1 billion prison, 4,000 bed facility together, but it's really not addressing the overcrowding issue as deaths in prisons increase. What types of reforms would you like to see, and how would you pay for them?
Well, first of all, we've got a lot of people we put in prison. We warehousing them and footing the bill. But if they do these real serious crimes, we need to check them on out and not be spending all the money on them that we're spending on them. But these prisons, when you stack them in there like cordwood, like we're doing, well, the crime is just going to be there. They're going to have gangs and different things, and they're going to hurt one another every now and then.
How about the lottery? Governor Ivey said she would be okay with a lottery, or at least putting it up for a vote for Alabamians for a referendum vote. What would your stance be on the lottery, and what would you spend the money on?
Well, my proposal would be to, first thing to do is vote on the lottery and spend 100% of the proceeds for scholarships for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. We should have had the lottery a long time ago, but these gambling outfits that we've got in the state, they're against it because they want to keep the money coming to these places that we have.
Education is obviously a big concern in Alabama. Alabama ranks 39th in funding at a little over $13,000 per pupil, K through 12 public schools. Alabama now has the CHOOSE Act, giving state funds to approve students to use at private schools or homeschooling. Is that an appropriate way to use public funds, and what methods would you support for funding education?
I'm for public education support at 100%. One of my proposals is to change the assessment ratio in Class 3 property from 10% to 5%, and then have reappraisal just once every 5 years. But if my proposal causes any loss of public school funds, I'm for earmarking some other funds that I'm in my proposals to make up for the difference. But I'm not for taking public monies and funding private schools. No, sir, I think that's wrong.
And I don't know if you're a big sports fan, but college sports brings a lot of money to the state. $425 million in revenue just from Alabama and Auburn sports. With the introduction of name, image, and likeness, as well as revenue sharing money, a large portion of the funds are going directly to student athletes. Should the state have a role in managing that money and deciding who gets funding?
Well, I think the state's already missed their opportunity to do something about that. These college kids too often needed $50 to get them some food and different things. And I remember one time we had over at Auburn, the kid's name was Ramsey. They were giving him some money, and it caused some of the coaches to lose their jobs. But these college athletes, like you said, are bringing in lots of money. So I'm for letting them make some money if they can. And you know, it's something that it's sort of like the genie getting out of the bottle. It's out of the bottle, and it's going to be hard to put back in the bottle.
Mr. Mathis, thanks for your time today.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that. Nathan Mathis, candidate for governor for Alabama for 2026.